It's Victory Monday, baby. The Florida Gators handled business against Vanderbilt, and we're going to talk about that win here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. Happy Victory Monday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. If you haven't yet signed up for Florida Victorious, do so and save 20% off your first month using promo code LOCKED. If you haven't yet signed up for Subtext, which the link's in the description below, basically one-on-one content, one-on-one conversation, exclusive content. It's free for the first 14 days and then $5 per month following that. Links in the description again. And we're going to start talking about this offense because the offense has been the big talking point around this entire team this season, because it's been the most wildly inconsistent part. And let's just say what it is. The offense was not always pretty, but this was probably the best coached game offensively this season, pretty handedly, I think. I think Napier has done a good job, finally, of adjusting the offense to fit what the offensive line can do. He mentioned there were quite a few times where Graham Mertz held onto the ball too long. Graham Mertz acknowledged that in the post-game press conference because it's true. That's been something we've been talking about of, look, I get this offensive line isn't good. There have been times, though, where Graham Mertz is the one that makes them look worse because like he gets pressured and the knee-jerk reaction from a fan is, his offensive line sucks. There have been plenty of times where Graham Mertz is the reason for those pressures. But Billy Napier did a great job of getting the offense to work cohesively a little bit. That's something that he hadn't really done much of this season. I know that we talked about GH counter has been a big part of, or not a big part. It's been completely useless because Billy Napier hasn't called it. It's been great when he calls it. He hasn't called it frequently. He called it against Tennessee and it destroyed. And then we didn't see it again really until this past week. And GT counter is one of my favorite run plays. We'll draw it here. I'm drawing it like horizontally so that it's showing up there clearer. And so GT, that's just your offense. Just whenever this light adjusts, that's just your offense in general working. That's the offensive line. You have the offensive line block down, guard pulls, or sorry, it's GH counter, not GT counter. And then you have that little setup there. Okay? You have your whole O-line blocks down. So the left side of the offensive line, specifically on this play, left side of the offensive line blocked to the right. Right guard pulls in Micah Mazua, and the tight end, it was Hayden Hansen in this case, pulls. And then they lead the way to the left, and they kind of seal that rushing lane. And it led to a first down immediately. Like this is what the offensive line is good at there. The offensive line hasn't been good at running wide zone. The offensive line hasn't been good at running inside zone. They have been good at that power kind of blocking, that gap blocking there, where you go, hey, just block the man next to you. And then we've got two people pulling. It's Micah Mazzucca and Hayden Hansen. Here, Richie Leonard has also been very good at pulling this season specifically. And like, he's been good in general. Let's talk Richie Leonard for a second, left guard. He's been good this whole season. I don't know what some fans on like Twitter are talking about where they're like 67 sucks. I don't know what football game you're watching. Like I don't get this where for some reason that's a big thing on Twitter, just like 67 sucks. He's been arguably the best offensive lineman on the field for the Florida Gators this year. So I don't understand it. Austin Barber he had like NFL expectations going into this year, hasn't lived up to them at all. And it's kind of weird that, and I understand that it was against Vanderbilt, but Austin Barber didn't play in this game, and it was arguably the best offensive line game we've seen from the Florida Gators this year. You know, Damian George at left tackle, which kudos to him. Like, it's not easy to flip sides there. So Damian George at left tackle, Lindell Hudson at right tackle, and that was a strong combination that you had out there for the Florida Gators. Like this was one of the best offensive line performances that we've seen from the Florida Gators. And they just did a great job in general. Like, Richie Leonard had a good game. Jake Slaughter played one of his better games this year. Micah Mazuka played probably his best game this year. And Damian George, again, going from right tackle to left tackle, he played a pretty solid game. I mean, honestly, I feel like he did better at left tackle than he usually has been in right tackle. I know that there was a big issue with pass blocking from the running backs. Again, that's always going to be a thing. Like, that's just never changing. We have to accept that forever. But hey, this was a game where I will say I hate some of the things that happened in the game, like the double pass, where Graham Mertz threw the ball backwards to Khalil Jackson. He threw the ball. I forgot who he even threw that to, but Khalil Jackson threw the ball, and it got picked off, and that sucked a little bit. Like, we'll say what it is, but I don't hate the play call. I hate the situation in which he called it. I think when your team just forces a turnover, I understand going, all right, we just forced a turnover. Let's step on their necks here. A double pass is not how you do that. Trickery is not how you do that, in my opinion. I think you could take a shot, but a double pass just doesn't make sense to me there. And I loved getting Arlis and Eugene Wilson III involved in just this offense in general. It was a great way to see the young guys kind of really step up and become the next level and take that next step. Because Arlis is someone who since he got on campus, we've been like, oh, when's he gonna break out? And it's always felt like a matter of when, not if. And if he continues how he played in this game, we're at the when. Like, we've hit that point. Eugene Wilson III continues to be a consistent part of this offense when he's healthy and when he's ready to play. That's obviously a big if, when type of thing. But I mean, they combined for what, 14 catches and 135 yards or something like that. They were a big part of this offense. Like, they broke out. That was their breakout. Ricky Pearsall made a couple big plays. Montreal Johnson in the passing game, he had a drop, but for the most part, played relatively well. You look at what Trayon Webb did as a runner. Trayon Webb had to play more because of not having Trevor Etienne, but Trayon Webb played well. Montreal Johnson was running like the Montreal Johnson of old. Like, this is the game where everything seemed to click. And now you've built a little bit of momentum offensively. You go into South Carolina this coming weekend, and if you could walk out with a win there, you're at 5 wins heading into your bye. That's a pretty good spot to be in if you're a Florida Gators fan, right? Like, I don't think any of us really, I don't think any of us were expecting that at this point, but if that's what you can walk out with, you take that. You won 38-14. Like, you put up 38 points against Vanderbilt, which you put up 11 against Utah, 49 against McNeese, 29 against Tennessee, only 22 against Charlotte. You got dominated and scored 14 against Florida, like scored 14 against Kentucky when you gave up 33. This is the time where you take the next step. You've built momentum. You've found answers. You haven't found all of the answers, but you've found some answers. You got your run game going again. And isn't it weird how it's a little bit weird, right? That Tennessee and Vanderbilt were the 2 best rushing games for the Florida Gators. And it's the games where they used counter and they went a little bit more gap focused. Crazy how that works. Like, I love split zone more than anybody on the planet, I think. It hasn't been working a ton for you. Counter has been. Counter has been. Those power runs have been. Do that. Like, that's what your offensive line's good at this year. So do that. We are about to talk about the defense, which again, like they look like they're back maybe a little bit. Before we do that, though, it's time for your game changer of the week, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. It's Arlis Boardingham. Like, can it be anybody else? It's Arlis Boardingham. He's your game changer of the week. He changed the game the same way that Athletic Brewing has changed the non-alcoholic beer game completely. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. And Arlis Boardingham gave us passing production from the tight end position that we haven't had since Kyle Pitts. Again, very different player, but we haven't had that since Kyle Pitts. You can find Athletic Brewing Co.'s non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, to get 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Exclusions and conditions do apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. And I think the big takeaway from this Vanderbilt game, for me at least, I think was a couple things. One, I very much like how Austin Armstrong approached money downs, third downs, whatever you want to call it. I like how he approached that. Vanderbilt went 1 for 10 on third down. They went 0 for 3 on fourth down. But I liked how, I mean, even we'll say money downs, meaning third and fourth downs here, because Vanderbilt went for it 3 times. But Florida had plays where they would rush 3 and drop 8 or rush 4 and drop 7. I forgot the exact, but I remember it was like, okay, we're not blitzing here. So they had plays like that where I like that because you force a quarterback to really make the read. And when everyone's covered, it's tough. If I'm not mistaken, it was rush 3, drop 8. And I think Ken Seals threw it away on one of those third downs because it wasn't there. It's a simple, when you have 8 guys in coverage, it's really hard to get open space there. I also like how there was a fourth down play where the Gators rushed 6, putting yourself in 5 minutes. I don't even remember what the coverage was on the back end. It might have been just straight cover 0. But you rushed 6 and you had 5 in coverage, but you generated pressure quick enough. And I think they got a sack on that one. I think that was the Derek Wingo sack. So you made plays. It was a great game by Austin Armstrong, considering what happened against Kentucky, where it was not only did your team not show up, but I don't think that defensively they made enough adjustments for what Kentucky was doing. This was a great response. That's the important part of this Florida Gators game. I understand that you played Vanderbilt, but the coaching staff made adjustments. The coaching staff responded. I don't give a damn who you played against. I don't care who the opponent was. If it was Vanderbilt, I don't care if you played Georgia, Vanderbilt, if you played a JV high school team, I don't care. The coaching staff made schematic adjustments and they made changes and they made big play. Like they helped generate big plays. Okay. And so for me, I look at this game as okay, like they answered. And defensively, they answered. Defensively, up front, the Florida Gators just dominated Vanderbilt. And again, I understand it's Vanderbilt, but this was, you just dominated them every step of the way. Princely Uman generated 6 pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. 6. And then you look at it was 4th and 4. It was 4th and goal, but I think it was from the 4-yard line. And Vanderbilt was going for it. This was right after the big Jakeem Jackson, after he gave up the big play. And then they're going to the side that Princely's rushing from. Princely breaks out that spin move, like the spin move that's going to make him millions of dollars at the NFL level. Just know that it's going to make him millions. And he breaks out the spin move and gets an instant win. Quarterback throws the ball. I don't even know if they recorded a pressure for Princely on that, but he did the spin move, got right through. And I understand that there's a lot of player. I understand that like Twitter is just like, there was a hold on this play. There was a hold on this play. Holding is not just if they're grabbing the jersey. Just know that. If they're grabbing the jersey, but they're within like their body, they're not getting a holding call on that. if you spin while they're blocking you, you're probably not getting a hold on that. If you rip while they're blocking you and they're not, you're probably not getting a hold on that because you're putting that position. Okay? There are certain situations where holding just isn't holding, it's just blocking. And I understand Princely was held at multiple times. Right? It's not that he was getting held every single play, but he did make a lot of plays as a pass rusher, and he's strung together successful plays. That's a big thing for Princely because we hadn't seen that too much from him. We hadn't seen him just string together successful play after successful play too frequently, and we saw that. And we saw coverage wise. I don't know where they got look, Jason Marshall, I understand the play. I don't know where we're losing this as Florida Gators fans, where some people are like, the receiver grabbed his face mask for a millisecond. I understand the receiver grabbed his face mask. Okay, on that big play, I understand that. I don't give a damn. It's as simple as that. Like, yes, the receiver grabbed his face mask unintentionally. I believe he was just trying to break the release or break the press, and his finger just got caught like in the face mask for a second. And yes, Jason Marshall's helmet did get turned a little bit because of it. I don't have an issue with giving up a completion pretty much at any point. What I have the issue with is that instead of trying to recover, Jason Marshall thought, if I cry, I'll get a flag. And that's not winning football, okay? You make the play, or at least try to make the play, and then you cry to the official. That's fine. Because incidental finger getting caught in the face mask, like, it happens, okay? But you have to recover and make a play. There have been plays where Jason Marshall has tried to press a receiver, and the receiver ducks maybe, and his hand gets caught in the face mask for a second, and it doesn't get called. Missed calls happen all the time. Okay, they usually balance out. I believe they usually balance out. Don't cry about it. Go make a damn play. And I will also say, Jalen Kimber, bravo. I said this on the live stream right after the game on Saturday. Jalen Kimber's been playing lights out in coverage. And he deserves to be acknowledged for that because he's been doing a fantastic job. Like, there's no other way to put it. Jalen Kimber has been the Florida Gators' best cover man this year. Okay? You can disagree, whatever you want. You could argue with your cat. I don't care. You could argue with my cat, but I don't care. She's not going to listen. But Jalen Kimber's been the best cover man for the Florida Gators this year. And I don't even mean that when you look at PFF, he's been targeted 10 times and has only given up 3 completions for like less than 30 yards. I don't care about that. I mean, when you cut the film, there is no Florida Gators corner playing as tight coverage, as consistently as Jalen Kimber is, and making a play on the ball the way that Jalen Kimber has been. He's got, 3 or 4 pass deflections at this point in the season? He's making plays. Simple as that. Okay, let's do that. Jalen Kimber's been the best corner on this team. We are about to talk about the freshmen because holy, the freshmen have been just flat out insane this year for the Florida Gators. But before we talk about them, passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. And we need to talk about the freshmen for a few minutes, because And I mean, by freshman, I mean redshirt and true freshman. Because they've been arguably the best players on this team. Let's just I'm gonna pull up the PFF grades and we're gonna see who the best players on this team are according to PFF. With players that have played more than a game, your best defensive player is Prince Allen. Okay? Great. Not a freshman, but after that, TJ Searcy, true freshman. Devin Moore, true sophomore. Okay? Your sixth best or fifth best player, Kelby Collins. Like your top 10 has 1, 2, 3, 4 players that are in their first or second year with the Florida Gators on defense. You look at offense, I'm going to assume Eugene Wilson is the highest rated player. Yep. Eugene Wilson's your best player. Trevor Etienne's your third best player. I get it. I said freshman, but Trevor Etienne's second year player. Then you have Najee Harris is your ninth. Aiden Mizell's 11th, but of course he's only played one game. But you've had so many big plays. And then like Arlis Boardingham for the season is listed as a barely below average player. A lot of that's just that one, he's still not a very good blocker. And that's fine to acknowledge. Like that is what it is. And two, against the Kentucky game, he got destroyed by Pro Football Focus. He played a bad game against Kentucky, like running the route. Sure, that matters. Stuff like that matters for PFF grade. They are watching the film and grading based off of that. And like the young players that are playing too, they're making big plays. Like you look at, I mean, Caleb Douglas was playing and he was listed as average. Hayden Hansen has the 10th most snaps, 205 snaps. Najee Harris has the 11th most snaps. Arlis Boardingham has the 12th most snaps. There's a lot of young players playing a ton of snaps and contributing. Okay, like and not just contributing like, oh, like they're out there, like they're doing their job better than the upperclassmen could, better than last year's upperclassmen could. Like this is where we talk about where we say, okay, these recruiting classes that Billy Napier is bringing in early in his Florida Gators tenure are players that are going to contribute. Saturday, Jordan Castell, Bryce Thornton started at safety. They started at safety. Trayon Webb, running back 2. Eugene Wilson III, your leading receiver or your leading wide receiver. Arlis Boardingham, your leading receiver in the entire game. Again, Hayden's offensive tackle 3, offensive lineman 6 at this point with how often they've got him blocking. But he's out there. Like he's there. You have Jakeem Jackson, gave up a huge play, answered with a great defensive, we'll say coverage spot there that you could argue he got there a little early, but it was it was perfectly timed enough where they didn't throw a flag on him. I need you to understand how incredible it is that this many true freshmen are playing consistently. It's insane. Like we knew this would be a young team, but the fact that they're playing consistently and they're making plays. Andy Jean has worked into the rotation now at receiver. He's playing there. Trayon Webb is in the rotation. Like this is something that I need everybody to understand. It's not common. Like this program was left in a very crappy situation when Dan Mullen left. And we knew that and we acknowledged it. And we acknowledged, hey, these freshmen are going to play. And I think that even though we said, hey, these freshmen are going to play, I don't think many of us expected them to play as early as they've been playing. Like pulling up the 2023 recruiting class for the Florida Gators. Jakeem Jackson rotates in frequently. Kelby Collins rotates in frequently. Cameron James is, I mean, not frequently, but he's played every game. He's not rotating in frequency. He's playing a couple of snaps every game, but he's played every game. Eugene Wilson III, huge part of the offense. Rod Kearney has not played yet, but he's also moved inside to center for some reason. I don't agree with it. Dijon Johnson hasn't played much. He was a mid-year enrollee, so he's only been on campus for 3 months at this point. Aiden Mizell hasn't played too much. TJ seriously plays frequently. Sharif Denson's found his way into the rotation after Jadarius Perkins said that he was transferring. Trayon Webb. Even when you do have Trevor Etienne, Trayon Webb usually hops onto the field for a little bit. Like, these guys are playing. Andy Jean's like middle of the recruiting class ranking. Playing. Bryce Thornton, middle of the recruiting class ranking. Starting now. Najee Harris, bottom of the recruiting class. Playing. Jordan Castell, below Najee Harris. Starting. And he has been the entire season. Like, this is a unique situation. That's 2023. Then you look at the 2022 recruiting class, which is Billy Napier's transition class, and you have Kamari Wilson's at the top, not playing. Chris McClellan, he's been very good when he's on the field. Shamar James is arguably your second best defensive player behind Princely Umanmielen. Jamari Lyons, playing quite a bit, like making plays, and he's been playing well. Devin Moore, one of your top 3 corners, we'll say. Arlis Boardingham, Caleb Douglas, Trevor Etienne. Max Brown has not been playing, obviously, because you have Graham Mertz, but he did step in. He's your QB2, which is also another thing where like Max Brown is QB2. That's awesome, because we had always thought, hey, if Graham ever gets hurt, it's Jack Miller or it's someone else over Max Brown. But Graham got hurt on Saturday. Max Brown came in. Tony Livingston was playing before he got injured. Ty Bowman played a bit last year, not really this year at all. Miguel Mitchell was a starter at a certain point and is now rotating in. Hayden Hansen, of course, is your starting tight. Like, your two freshmen, your 2 starting tight ends are redshirt freshmen. Your starting tight ends are redshirt freshmen. You look at the depth chart, and there's so many freshmen listed on it. Eugene Wilson III, starting receiver, true freshman. Hayden Hansen, starting tight end, redshirt freshman. Arlis Boardingham, starting tight end, redshirt freshman. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and you've got Jordan Castell, starting safety, true freshman. Bryce Thornton, starting safety, true freshman. You look at everybody behind them. Like, this is an incredibly young team, and I understand that everyone knows that at this point, but you have to give credit where credit's due. Like these true freshmen are making plays, and that's incredible to see. And that needs to be considered when you go, oh, like they're inconsistent. Yeah, they're so young. Next year, we could be having a different conversation because they'll all be experienced. But for now, this is an incredible feat that's being put out here. And it just needs to be acknowledged and loved, honestly. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow, as always, talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Line Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. And I'll see you all tomorrow.